Although I'd been booted from the band, Robbie and I remained close, and to help me get over the breakup with Jill, he got us a few tabs of acid one Saturday night. We dropped the little pink pyramid pills in a pub about half an hour before it closed. 11 p.m. in those days. We were heading home across the Gothic expanse of Kelvin Grove Park just as the acid began to kick in. It was powerful stuff. I had tripped many times before and never been close to the intensity of this. The Victorian statues in the tree-lined road followed us with their eyes. The wind in the leaves was whispering vague, sinister threats, and mysterious ripples bubbled up from the myriad of dark ornamental ponds. Robbie, for some reason, kept turning into Adam Ant. I asked him to stop, but he said he couldn't help it. Terror flashed like lightning. Then it passed. Then it came back a couple more times. Then quiet again. Then it switched on and stayed on like a fluorescent light. Blinding terror. Robbie felt it too. We started running, but to our horror we found that even going flat out, we were traveling painfully slowly. Then we heard them. A long way off at first. Behind us, and getting closer. Ducks. First, one rogue quack, then another closer still. One of us shouted, "Killer ducks!" We were petrified and doubled over with laughter at the same time. Very unhinged, very bizarre. We redoubled our efforts to escape the domain of the man-eating mallards, and just as we reached the park gates it started to pour down rain. What fresh hell was this? I felt I would drown. I looked in a panic at Robbie, which was a bad idea at the best of times given how thin and scary-looking he was. The exertion and rain was making his eyeliner run, and he appeared, for all the world, like a walking Jolly Roger. I shrieked like a wee girl and ran away from him. He tried following, but I threw him off. I stumbled, weeping uncontrollably through rainy, cobble-sided streets until I found myself wandering Great Western Road, an ancient and wide thoroughfare that leads out of Glasgow to the Highlands. The rain had transformed the streets into black mirrors, which was hugely disconcerting because they reflected the green of the traffic lights, turning my whole world green. I had never been that scared, lost in a town I know like the back of my hand, and about to asphyxiate in a color. Then things turned from green to orange, then red, then green again, and I ran as fast as I could go to God knows where. I needed help. I was in a very bad way, so I decided I should call home. I found a phone booth, and before dialing, I looked at my watch. It was 4 a.m. I had been in this state for 5 hours. I listened as the phone rang and rang in my parents' house. Finally, my mother picked up, her voice fuzzy with sleep. "Hello?" I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I covered the receiver so that she wouldn't hear me breathing and think I was some kind of weirdo, which of course I was. "Hello?" Silence. "Craig? Is that you?" I hung up. The storm had passed. I think just hearing her voice was enough to pull me back into myself. Years later, I finally admitted it had been me on the phone that night, although I suppose she always knew. I wandered back to the flat with my head zinging and popping, but not quite as bad as before. I was terribly anxious and stayed awake for about 3 days afterwards, watching crappy television or staring at Ken. At last I finally drifted into oblivion and slept for 16 straight hours. I vowed to never take acid again, and I haven't. Something happened inside my mind that night that should not have happened. Acid gave me a clinical, unblinking look at madness, and I discovered I wasn't brave enough to be insane.